Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba.
Hey, I'm Smiley here with Evil Chris Desu. Yeah, no, he's in the mood. And we just came out of The Forest, starring Natalie
Wait,
Dormer.
I mean, we came out of the movie The Forest, not A
Yeah.
Forest.
So, before we even start, I know there's a lot of rigmarole rolling around on the internet concerning this movie, cultural appropriation and all that good shit. And there's a general boycotts, particularly on Tumblr, that I've noticed that like people are actively boycotting this movie because of cultural insensitivity, and I feel that and I dig that, but also I've seen this kind of like rash prejudging of pieces of media just like completely ruin what otherwise would have been a okay piece of media, but you brought all this attention to it by saying, "Oh, it's horrible, it's monstrous," blah 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 blah. So I decided, fuck it, let's give it a shot. Let's see how it is, what it's like, if it's really as bad as everyone on the internet wants it to be. And wow, it was bad.
I'll say this: it was. I was like looking for those cultural insensitivities, and as far as I could tell, they like towed that line as gently as they possibly could, and I felt like
Yeah.
it was actually fairly respectful. Like whenever they talk about the supernatural aspect, because that was what was bothering me initially. Whenever they talk about the supernatural aspect, it's always through the perspective of a Japanese person, and I think that makes it a little bit easier to digest.
Yeah, to a degree. I kind of felt like that was done on purpose, if only to like kind of sway people who came in with that idea of like, oh, this is going to be insensitive. And it is. It is. It's not as violently or as like
I didn't really find it terribly offensive. I mean,
I didn't find it offensive outright. I just found it like it took something that is a serious problem in Japan and in a lot of Asian cultures. Because
well, it's not even really a problem. Okay, so we're gonna talk about the movie at some point, but I
yeah,
think
we're gonna backtrack a little bit. We will get to the movie. However,
we have been discussing this for a couple days, and basically what I mean, I'm not Japanese, well, as far as you know, and but I do look into a lot of Japanese culture, and I know in the East there's a very like heavy history around suicide, and it's like a really it's a deep it's a thing that goes through all the culture, and the idea that I guess based on the trailers we got the impression that this movie was going about it from the idea of, oh, these people are going into a forest to kill themselves.
spooky.
Well, no, not even that. It's more just like they're going to the forest to kill themselves. That's not something we would do in the West. Therefore, there has to be demons involved.
Yeah, like
But
it has to be bad, but like it didn't really play it
well,
that
well,
way so much.
well,
Like
the way they fix that is by having it, like I said, like
like
having
having it be from the perspective, like every time it
they're
was
like, oh,
talked about or supernatural bits were talked about, it was done from the
so
perspective of a Japanese person.
So it's not just like, oh, yo, we crazy Westerners think that these wacky Japs are just blah blah
Yeah.
blah. It like this is something that this is. I mean, I don't really know about like the the supernatural perspective on it from the perspective of Japanese people, but the idea that they're just like, okay, this is Uri, this is Oni, these are actual demons that are drawing. Like the idea
Yeah,
that
and
they're
from what
thinking
I
this,
was
not just
reading,
us.
and I did a little research on the forest itself, not on the movie The Forest, but on, oh god, what is it called?
I don't
They
know.
said it half a dozen times in the movie, which I appreciated because they didn't just go around muttering about Suicide Forest all the time. But from what I was reading about, it does have like a history of the supernatural concerning like demons and like negative spirits, and
It has
more
it has a
recently, like in the last 100 or so years, it has that more social connotation of being a place where people go to commit suicide.
from what I understand, it had its political and physical um, implications first. Like they said in the movie, with the idea of, oh, the sick and the elderly are taken here and they're just left to die
Yeah, I didn't
for
read any
population
like from what
control.
I was reading about that. I didn't actually see anything about that. That was new information.
But it makes sense that from that situation
Yeah,
where they would actually something practical would then evolve into a
into
legend,
something more social and
into
legendary,
into a
and
legend that
yeah.
is involves
And the
demons.
fact of the matter is, like, more recently, the Japanese government has made like steps and they've put like billions of yen into like suicide prevention, and they send people out into the forest to find people who are on the edge and have talk them back, and that's awesome because they're taking these steps. And what people were pissed off about this movie is that it takes something that is a very big problem, which is unaddressed mental illness in the Asian community, and it kind of just makes a scary movie out of it. And people are angry, and I can see why people would be angry, because it does kind of make light and take something that is a big deal in Japan and make it about a white girl.
I feel like the problem stems from the idea that we as Westerners are applying supernatural effects to something in Japan, as opposed to what I believe the movie is intending to do, which is take these actual Japanese folklore surrounding this actual location and turning that into a movie, which honestly I don't think is a terrible idea. So, Japanese horror games are some of the freakiest shit you'll ever see in your life.
Yeah, and I would like to see more Eastern mythologies, because frankly I am so bored of Western mythology and ghosts and jump scares, and at the end of the day that's what they gave us. This movie was not a cool exploration of Japanese mythology.
Funny, it took us so fucking long to get to the movie.
Now we're 6 minutes in. We're gonna start talking about the actual movie, which was a boring Western jump scare movie.
See, the thing is, I went in looking for those cultural missteps, and all the Japanese is legit. It's all shot in Japan, as far as I can tell.
I don't know where it was shot. I saw a bunch of stuff in the credits about Serbia. I'm not.
Well, the production studio is obviously Serbian, because half the names were in fucking Scandinavian.
I'm not going to make any sweeping statements about where it was filmed, because I don't know where it was filmed.
That's the one thing I wanted to point out about the film, is that I went in looking for these cultural missteps, and they addressed it as respectfully as they possibly could.
Yeah, the cultural missteps did not jump out at me.
And as a result, I was just like, okay, this is. Then once I got past that, I realized, okay, now I have to start focusing on the movie.
Yeah, what is it as a movie? And the movie is shit.
It's not shit. It is a retread. It is a cliche laden.
We have seen it before. We were counting down in a couple of scenes, literally the two of us were just 5, 4, 3, 2, scary little girl.
And that's pretty much exactly.
And that was pretty much what the whole movie was.
There was that one scare that got both of us.
Because it was, and that wasn't even a matter of.
Well, let me interject with a statement. I don't think anybody's gonna give a shit if we say spoilers, because nobody gives a fuck about this movie.
Spoiler alert.
No spoiler. Who fucking cares?
If you care.
Spoiler alert if you give a shit. There is. All right. First of all, the editing in this movie is a fucking nightmare.
It's a mess. Oh my god, and that's the problem, because clearly. The cinematography itself is good. It's fair. There are some really pretty shots.
There's a lot of really tight shots. They've done
some really interesting stuff with perspective and the
depth of field. And they show a lot of real extreme close-ups. A lot of great forest shots. A lot of it really helps to emphasize.
So clearly, there was at least a camera crew who knew what they were doing and were passionate about what they were doing.
Well, you can tell with the mossiness or with the what's the phrase? The flora. You could tell it's definitely I think it's in Japan. I'm not 100% sure.
Clearly, it's a beautiful place to film. A lot of the B-roll reflected that, and the B-roll would be occasionally interjected for no reason. It's been a couple seconds since anything interesting's been on screen. Here's a snail.
Well, they're not. I don't think it was B-roll for the sake of B-roll. I think it was trying to emphasize the creepy nature.
Yeah, the fact that you're all out in the elements on your own.
It was poor shots choice, if you ask me. But that shot that actually got us, it was, well, first of all, almost every single scare in this movie is done through dream sequences.
Yeah. Camera shot itself. Anyhow, we were talking about the one jump scare that actually got to us.
Right. So like I said, everything, at least I think it captured. I'll say it again just in case. That wasn't.
What?
I wasn't.
What?
Nothing. Never mind.
You said you didn't want to be in shot, so I took
okay, just making sure. Just making sure. Yeah, my weirdness. There is all the scares are done through dream sequence, which actually kind of has a nice little touch to it, because after
it has its own candor, but also
it's I found it nice because after a while you kind of have trouble telling what's real and what's not, which I thought was a nice touch.
Yeah, no, absolutely. My only problem with that, especially in the first half hour of the movie, it was very apparent when a dream was beginning, because most of the time it would show her sleeping, then you would show whatever spooky, scary thing.
Yeah, I even leaned over to you and say none of this counts. The next minute
until she wakes up.
The next minute has no relevance and is also has no potential to be scary because we know it's not real.
Because so it's like I kind of like every time there was like a specific lighting that they would use when she was dreaming, and every time I saw it, I was just kind of like, okay, so this doesn't count, so I can pretty much check out because nothing's actually happening.
Twitter. No, but the one thing, like I said, the one thing that got us, it basically starts off as a dream sequence, and she's slowly walking down a hallway, and the lighting is actually really good in that scene because you can just barely make out a silhouette of a figure standing there, and you're kind of like, okay, they're gonna jump scare.
Yeah, so
and she's getting closer and closer.
It's like, okay, waiting for the jump scare, waiting for the jump scare.
Well, you're waiting for it, and you're like, all right, she's gonna get like right up to her and like maybe put her hand on her shoulder, and then
it's gonna
like. But what actually happened was she got closer, and
she was still about
6 or 7 feet away.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it's like, boom, the fucking scary lady's in her face. And I'm like, oh shit. It actually scares you because you were, like, it takes your expectations and fucks with them.
Yeah, because you have a certain, like, everyone has a rhythm for a jump scare. Like, you'd, like, get up to, like, are you okay? And then boom, there's when the scary lady comes. But we didn't get that. And that's I did appreciate that because I caught both of us. And I'm kind of like, whatever. Like, most jump scares get me because I have terrible timing. But...
I don't think this movie has the capacity to scare anybody ever.
But this was not a scary movie. I was gonna say, as far as Natalie Dormer goes, I adore her. I think she is the best Anne Boleyn there ever was. She did not bring her A game.
Why the fuck would she?
And I totally understand.
I kept saying over and over again, like,
why wouldn't bring my A game to this project either?
Why is it her and not that chick from Big Bang Theory?
And you keep bringing that up, and I don't understand why.
Because she looks kind of similar, and also the chick from Big Bang Theory is way hotter.
I like her little nose. But,
and her stupid Kristen Stewart fucking deadpan resting bitch face.
No, I think that was just like the abject boredom of this movie. Just like crossing her face and just like do this like dead puppy eye, like I wish I was anywhere but here.
I don't know how we're doing on time, but I am definitely gonna bring up the ending.
Yeah, go for it.
That ending fucking sucked.
Yeah,
Jesus
no,
Christ.
it tried to Shyamalan and it did not.
Oh yeah, the twist. That was
it was a terrible twist.
It was barely a
terrible twist.
It's like,
oh my god. Again, I don't think anybody's gonna see this movie.
Well, I don't even know if we have enough time because there's a lot of stuff that preceded it. I don't know if we have enough time to sum it all up.
I can do this.
Go for it.
Spoiler alert if you care for spoilers about this movie, but I assume most of you who are watching this are too offended to spend money on it. So the whole time, Natalie Dormer is going through to find her twin sister, who is also played by Natalie Dormer, because presumably they wanted to save money.
No, did you get it? They're identical twins.
Yeah, no, they're identical twins. They're connected. And
you totally called that, by the way.
Yeah. Anyhow, so she spends the whole time, she's searching for her sister. She's trying to find her in the forest because she disappeared into the forest. And so Natalie Dormer is going to look for her. And throughout the thing, she gets all the hallucinations. She starts going steadily crazy and seeing like horrible memories from their childhood. And by the end of it, the guys who were looking for her husband, the Japanese police, everyone's like got a search squad out looking for her, and she's running around in the forest losing her mind. And pretty much the last shot we get is the twin sister coming out of the forest and finding the search squad and the...
No. The actual twist, which came like a few minutes before.
What?
Well, remember when she was, she thought her sister was in the basement, and so she's like, all right, I'm gonna go down in the basement, and she has another hallucination, and it's a really obvious hallucination because it's her fucking childhood home in the middle of the suicide forest
in Japan.
But anyway, then her father is like grabbing her hand, like her dead father grabbing her hand. Oh, by the way, her parents are dead.
Yeah,
because it's movie and why not? Yeah. And so he grabs onto her hand. She's like scraping off his hand with a knife.
I thought that was a really weird, like, why don't you stab him in the side of the head? Like, I didn't
really... when I saw her doing that, I knew exactly where they were going.
Yeah, I didn't
really
immediately see where they were going with that. Like, that one did kind of, like, get me, but I wasn't really, like, by then I was so checked out of the movie, I don't think I even really cared what they were doing.
But long story short, she ends up...
inadvertently slitting her own wrists.
And then it's like a big reveal, like, she was actually in the basement slitting her wrists the whole time. I'm like,
yeah,
fucking great. That's
that's
literally the best you can do.
So the twin that she spent the entire movie looking for ended up living while she died. It was lame. It wasn't good. It wasn't super culturally insensitive, but
at the end of the day, it's just also not a very good movie.
Yeah, at the end of the day, don't bother spending money on it because it wasn't a good movie. Don't get your knickers in a bunch because, cultural appropriation, whatever, who cares. Isn't it nice to see something other than a white bread ghost story? And it would have been cool if we had seen something other than a white bread ghost story.
But now we saw a white bread ghost story.
But now we saw a white bread ghost story based in Japan. So how about instead of getting butthurt about things being about Japan, how about you start insisting that we are seeing, things taken seriously and addressed from their own cultural standpoint?
Or make your own scary movie.
Or make your own goddamn scary movie. Stop fussing about Hollywood doing it wrong and do it right.
If you want something done right, you gotta do it yourself.
Yeah.
That's what I've always learned.
Yep. Anyhow, I'm starving and I want to wash the taste of this stupid-ass movie out of my mouth, so let's go get some McDonald's.
Right. Wow, great joke. Did you come up with that on your own?
Yeah. Anyhow, this is Madam Smiley, and that's Evil Chris Desu.
Thief.
What?
Joke thief.
Whatever. Bye!